Oh, growing up in Skamania County, I mean, the timber industry was one of the biggest economic drivers in our county.
70s, 80s, and early 90s, this was a timber town, timber community.
We've always been a hardworking blue-collar community. 2/3 of our county is national forest lands. That means that 2/3 of our county can't be developed for anything other than national forest.
Skamania County, Washington, nearly 1,700 square miles and home to just shy of 12,500 people.
The county is virtually carpeted in timber.
I remember when I was in high school, there were jobs, plentiful. Things were great economically. We had a strong local economy, strong communities. When my dad graduated from Stevenson High School, we were the richest school district in the state. When my son graduated from Stevenson High School, we were in the midst of economic uncertainty that continues to this day. We're still trying to dig our way out of that and move forward as a county.
How do you dig yourself out? How do you move on when what you do economically is stifled by politics and people who don't seem to understand what their ideology is doing to you and your neighbors?
The county's gone from 7 sawmills to 1, and every logging operation that existed in the early 90s in Skamania County no longer exists today.
Housing costs, like everywhere, are through the roof. Locals can't afford to live here.
Rural Washington is just getting squeezed from both sides. It's squeezing our local people trying to raise their families here, making it harder for them to survive.
But as the population increases and we've become a real target for people with deep pockets that want relief from the city and the urban areas. And so our houses are incredibly expensive because there aren't many salaries that would allow you to buy a $675,000 home.
It's difficult to come here, take a local job, and buy a home. It's tough. In fact, it's pretty well impossible.
Back before the spotted owl in the 1990s, Skamania County was a prosperous place.
So any timber revenue that came off of the county, out of the county, off the forest in the county got 25% of those receipts, right? Things were good in the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s. The county had more money than it knew what to do with for a lot of years. And a guy told me one time, there's an old county commissioner back in the 80s, he told me they had so much money, they had to buy new pickup trucks to get it all to the bank.
But those days are long gone. The county has nothing left to cut from its budget. The school district just laid off more teachers. The money is just not there because the timber harvest is so low.
Skamania County itself is 80% federal timberland, about 10% state, another 8% or so private timberland, and then only 2% is fully taxable.
A lot of the timber in Skamania County is off limits. There's a Columbia Gorge Scenic Area, the Mount St. Helens National Monument, and of course, the Northwest Forest Plan.
So the Northwest Forest Plan came in, really upended the timber program altogether, but even in the Northwest Forest Plan, called for 100 million board feet a year, and we don't do half of that.
Not even half. Skamania County is trying to diversify, but right outside its doors is the product people want, they need. And better management of this resource would not only benefit the forest, but change everything for the people of Skamania County. Skamania means swift water. It's a place rich in history and the mighty Columbia River. People used to be able to take care of themselves here, but the river that defines them is being dammed by bureaucracy and ideology.
We lost our timber. We lost our pride in our community to work hard and to be self-reliant. And I think bringing back even just the thinning of timber in our national forest would benefit us greatly.
This isn't the 70s, the 80s of over-harvesting, and like I said, the truth is on our side. We have nothing to hide. We are the stewards of the land. We are the modern day environmentalists, and we just have to get that message across the finish line. It's very frustrating to list out all these problems with the counties and the schools and employment and stare at the solution all day. I mean, you can look in any direction, it's there. Both my parents went to school here, born and raised here. I was born and raised here.
It's a familiar story in rural America.
2 years ago, we had 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school. And due to budget cuts and reduced enrollment, next year we're going to be down to 2 schools, a combined middle school, high school, and 1 elementary school.
About 64% of the people who held a job and lived in the county worked outside of the county.
So not only do you have massive job loss, contractor loss, your funds for your schools go away, your funds for your county go away.
Financially, it's been really hard here because they used to be, a lot of people would call this the richest school district in the state. It was one of the only school districts that didn't need a levy. And this is because there was so much timber money in the past. So the district had all of these resources.
The resources are directly connected to the amount of timber harvested. When you cut the harvest, you cut school funding and you cut county funding.
You have a declining enrollment and struggling community trying to keep a really strong school system going at the same time.
WKO Timber Company is the largest employer in the area. 120 people work here. There were once 7 mills operating in the county and numerous logging operations. Now, this is it.
Even with the timber receipts dwindled down to almost nothing, there is a federal government program, SRS, Secure Rural Schools Funds. And this district, when I started here, was getting somewhere around $1.2 million a year, which is significant.
But SRS funds are anything but secure. Dollar amounts dropped, they had to be reauthorized, so the district never knew if they'd be there.
And it's not expected to come back. So we just passed a resolution at the board meeting last night to lay off a large number of staff members because we have to make ends meet.
Families aren't choosing to move here. Enrollment is dropping.
Used to be nearly 900 students, and we're about 680 right now. And we're going to continue to trend down. Approximately $10,000 of apportionment from the state per student. So that's a $2 million loss over from 2018-19 to next year. And then you take SRS on top of it, and it's really tough.
Here's another rub for people in Skamania County. The timber that is harvested here, although limited, does bring in millions of dollars. But those dollars don't stay here. They go to the state and are appropriated to larger, richer school districts for new buildings and modernizations in urban Washington.
It gets millions of dollars over the years from this county, and we can't have any of it. So they're taking the money that is actually earned out of this county, sending it and dispersing it to higher population areas in our state. And that is wrong. I feel like not just forgotten, but taken advantage of.
Between 2012 and 2016, our number of county employees went from 250 to 130.
The environmental push on the protection of the northern spotted owl. And of course, in the 1990s, early 90s, things basically came to a grinding halt. I thought, okay, well, at least we have a safety net. There's a certain amount that can be cut every year, and the fact is, through the 90s, I don't think that cut was ever met.
Even in the Northwest Forest Plan, called for 100 million board feet a year, and we don't do half of that.
Skamania County, because of all the timber destroyed by the eruption of Mount St. Helens years ago, was allowed to use the Secure Rural School funds in the general fund, which was a savior for county government for a while.
The first year that it came in, I think the county received just over $10 million. And half of that went to the schools and the other half to the county.
And everywhere the people of Skamania County look is the answer, the forest that they can barely touch. So what is the answer? Better forest management, more stable funding? Yes, to all the above. In our next segment, we'll look at a creative idea being done just across the river in Hood River, Oregon.
And between the scenic area and the forest, they're literally squeezing the life out of this community.
When they created the National Forest Service, that's what it was used for. Was any profits that were made off of any of the natural resources, it would go directly back into that community.
And if we could start responsibly logging again, we would be able to take care of ourselves. We don't need the government to give us a program if we're actually able to use the resources in our own county.
Skamania County, Washington is timber country. The county is blanketed in a natural resource that can barely be touched.
But the GP National Forest is 1.3 million acres. If it were harvested as though it were private timberland, which I'm not advocating for, I don't think our national forest should be harvested like they're private timberland. But just for some context, and that kind of growing ground, in the age class you have up there, your sustained harvest on the GP is safely 1 billion board feet a year.
County services and schools are struggling. Timber revenues used to be plentiful.
Come about the 1990s, we see a big shift in that. We see less and less timber being cut, more and more environmental protections put on it.
We had a large workforce engaged in timber. We had a large number of Forest Service employees. And today that's all gone. There's minimum harvest on the forest. My term that I use for that is the forest is growing to burn. It's what nature does to forests that aren't managed.
We've had professors from the University of Washington, WSU, Oregon State look at our forest and tell us that it is a big tinderbox, and they're worried about a large fire.
Imagine the forest as a savings account for Skamania County. Everything they need to keep the community healthy is growing right now. But bad forest management, judges, and anti-logging group lawsuits put all of that resource in danger.
That we have an excessive amount of natural resource that could be responsibly managed and provide a sustainable tax stream or income stream to the county to ensure that we can provide the county services, the emergency services, and importantly, that we take care of the schools, because our schools are in very bad shape.
And nobody wants to do that irresponsibly, and they never did. In the past, when this was a thriving logging community, timber was managed well, and it could be again. So, even our school trust lands are encumbered. We can't use our land to make any money. And saying, just give us a piece of what we send out of here, and we would be fine.
Former Skamania County Commissioner Tom Lannon has an idea that he thinks could work.
Is that we ask for 100,000 acres to be deeded to the county for our ownership and for our management, and create a community forest that, number one, would produce an acceptable revenue stream over time for the county, our schools, and all the other junior taxing districts, and allow for as much recreation as we could develop on it.
Just across the river in Hood River, Oregon, this same sort of thing is being done successfully.
It delivers a nice revenue stream for them. They have trails on it for bikers. They have walking trails. They have horse trails. They have camping. They have a couple of lakes in there, and the people love being able to be engaged. But when it comes time to take some revenue from it, they don't get pushback, because they also get the benefit of the use. When you look at the resource that's here, there's enough resource here to be managed responsibly for an infinite amount of time. And that has been shut down. So we have not experienced any catastrophic fire yet.
We live in a culture that says it cares about the carbon footprints, sustainability, and providing for each other. But here, actions speak louder than words.
And I thought, what's the carbon footprint for a 2x4 that was harvested in Finland and ends up in a house in Puget Sound? Probably more than all the other work that it took to get it into the house.